So I don't know if this was mine or for me it's a start. It really is. Oh, eight does it for me. I'm not. Here's dinner. I just got a meeting around 12. That's why this should be for the table.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. The September 20th, 2007 meeting of the Cable Advisory Council is called to order. We do have a quorum, and I would like to mention that it appears as though our meeting is being videotaped this evening, so everyone be aware.
I'd like to know by whom and for what reason.
John Newmiller, Public Access,
Any particular program that this is being paid for?
Ideas at Work.
John McGowan, Big T's Talking Variety Show.
You guys are working together on this?
No, totally separate.
Two separate units, okay.
When will this air?
Have given any consideration?
I don't know, it's not my show that I'm taping this for.
Are these shows edited or they're live? Are they broadcast in their entirety?
They're broadcast gavel to gavel.
Okay.
The
Well,
only thing that may be edited is the front maybe have rolling credits, and at the end, thank Comcast for the use of their facilities, and the producer and the camera person.
okay. And you were saying same thing, or is it edited?
Do edit, I'll be recording.
Will
Showing
be-
clips.
When it goes on here, it'll be edited?
Yes, be showing clips of it.
Okay.
The attendance sheet is being circulated. Would everyone please sign in? Everyone sign in? Okay.
Now, since you covered the cameras, are there any other reporters in the room?
Yes.
You where you from?
Nick Kepler, Fairfield County Weekly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, council members Anne Marie and Melinda have called in their absences. They have open house at school tonight. The council will now entertain comments from the public. If you would like to speak, I would appreciate if you would approach us here. And residents of Danbury, Bethel, and Ridgefield only are allowed to speak. So if anyone would like to make comments, okay, please stand, identify yourself, and name and address.
AKA Big T, Thomas E. Bennett, Sr., Danbury, Connecticut, Butternut Lane, Kenilworth Mobile Park. I own my home, own my business for 48 years. Been on Comcast Cable for, say, a little over 25 years. And the judge and jury here decided to make decisions on our show that I wasn't informed on, wasn't told about, didn't have a hearing on, was done all behind my back, and I'm not happy about that. And letting you know that Dan Granville, immediately when I said something, he immediately said I was threatening him. And I said, I'm not threatening you, I'm explaining to you that the ACLU is going to work with me on a lawsuit, and anyone that's involved with it, of course, is going to be involved with it. And it's on my freedom of speech, and of course, on the biggest thing is the violations of what Comcast Advisory has done to me, which is gone against my civil rights. Now, on cable, you got Playboy, Playgirl, you got nudity, you got swearing. At 6:30, 7 o'clock, you got different shows on there that talk nothing about sex and everything else. I've said nothing wrong on my show. My show was okay right up until this right now minute by that gentleman sitting right there signing my contracts. He never once said that my show wasn't capable to run. Every one of my contracts said what, Dave, may I ask? That I met the criteria, correct or right?
That's correct.
Thank you. But this board, because a black guy comes in here and makes decisions, you have no idea what he was talking about. He showed you a few clips of my show. You didn't sell the entire
Who
show.
came in here?
A black guy. Now, this guy comes in here right
Does
away.
this person have a name?
I don't know, what's his name? Anybody know his name? Oh,
Alan Robinson.
there you
As far
go.
as-
Alfonso, right? That's what I think I was told? Okay, Alfonso Robinson, yeah. Came in here, showed you a few clips, and ran down a bunch of things to you, and you made this gigantic decision to change my show so I couldn't do it live anymore after all these years. That was wrong, completely wrong. I wasn't aware of anything. This guy just comes in and tells you all these things, and you make a decision because, I mean, come on, what are you kidding me or what? This isn't right. Now, on top of that, I just don't get it. Why wasn't I notified? Why wasn't there at least, somebody saying, well, why don't you come to the next meeting and then we can discuss this? At least we could talk it, okay? But nobody even gave me that opportunity. I said, well, let me see. Then you were on vacation until tonight. So I've been waiting all this time. Now, the thing is that you went above my contract that Dave signed, saying that my show fit the show criteria, that there was no problems. There was nothing. And then I was lied to by, whether this committee was involved or not, by Granville telling me that, yeah, the warning was sufficient. I said, I'll accept your warning, no big deal, because people can change that channel. They can turn it off. They can do anything they want. Some of you people are school teachers. You're teaching sex education, giving out condoms in school. Don't tell me some girl calls up my show, she's innocent. There is no more innocent girls out there. There isn't. She called the show, I didn't call her. So I say that I have now the control here. I have the control. I can tell the ACO to back off, leave me, leave just everything's status quo, and we ride with it. Or you continue and don't put me back in my time slot, and we go with the lawsuit. And I will go through with it, because, I got some money. Look, I'm looking at some money here. They said, you got some money coming, definitely. So I'd rather not sue. I'd rather not go through this harassment, okay? Give me back my time slot. I have gotten rid of Bones, only for the fact is, yes, his mouth got carried away. I agree with that. I totally agree with that, okay? And he has been off the show. We cleaned up the show. Did I not, Dave?
There has been improvement.
Thank you. So I'm asking this committee to make an advisory back to Granville that I get my time slot back. I'm asking you to do that. Put me back on the air where I belong.
Unfortunately, it is not up to this council to determine the time slot that your show will air. We simply made a determination based upon viewing parts of your programs, and based upon those viewings, we determined that your program was of an adult nature. Based upon that, and Connecticut general statutes, Comcast made the decision to move your program to the later hour.
You made the advice.
At this point, it is out of our hands. It is a Comcast legal decision. It is not up to this council. We determined that your program was of an adult nature, and that's all we can do. We had no other authority. We are simply an advisory council. We continue to monitor your program. I have also seen where on a subsequent show, you once again indicated and advocated the shooting of illegals.
I have a right to my opinion. I have a right to my opinion, as you do. And nobody's out there shooting them, okay? And if they do, that wouldn't be on me. Again, you're saying something that's not correct, okay? I said I do not advocate violence. I say it at the beginning of my show and during the show at different times. I do not advocate violence. And I said, well, maybe they ought to start shooting them. That's what I said. They're criminals. I didn't make the law. The law's there. They are criminals. Criminals are shot at times. That's all I said.
Again, as I state, we have determined that your program is of an adult nature. Comcast made the decision to move your program to a later hour. And at this point, you just need to do what you need to do. We've done what we had to do based upon our rules, based upon the law.
The law? No, there's no law involved here. The only law involved here is my civil rights been in violation.
And you're
Okay?
advocating shooting people.
Yes.
Am I allowed to say something?
Sure.
You received a letter from Mr. Glanville in, was it May or June, am I correct? About your a possible suspension if your show was not.
And I called him.
Please let me continue. On August 2nd, I watched your show. And on that show, And if this is cleaning up your show, I'd like to know how this is cleaning up your
Well,
show.
go ahead.
You showed a picture of a 21-week-old aborted fetus, and you gave that child a name. Someone on your set called Governor Rel a lying whore. You were calling people scum-sucking pigs, cockroaches. You called illegal immigrants cockroaches.
Yeah.
Please explain to me, I would like to understand how this is considered cleaning up your act.
Well, do you also realize that that picture was on 2 other cable access programs in Danbury?
Excuse me, sir.
You can't talk yet.
Okay, sorry, I'll take my turn.
I'm referring to his show, and that's where I saw it. and
Yeah, I got it from one of the other shows. They turned it over to me.
I don't care where you got it from.
Oh,
I'd like
okay.
to know how that is considered cleaning up your show. After
Because my
that-
show has always been entertainment. My show has always been to put somebody down. My show has always been that way. It's not a show of many other shows that are on there that do their thing. I do my thing, and it's just,
I think there's a definite difference between entertainment and being crude and disgusting. And
well, that's your opinion. I have a right to mine, you have a right to yours. But you're taking my right away.
You were told to clean up your act, and you, Dave, are saying his act has been cleaned up, and I don't see it.
Dave says act is improved, hasn't been
Act
cleaned up.
improved, I'm sorry. I do not believe your act has been improved. Your show is being improved.
In addition, there's broadcast standards all networks have to abide by.
Yeah.
Which is why certain programs are not shown at the 8 or 9 o'clock hours. They need to go on at 10 or 11 p.m. This is on ABC, CBS, in all the programs. The FCC makes those determinations what programs can run or what should run. And should
Well,
not
my
run.
show's no different than the ones that are on there now.
Well, that's interpretation, one way or the other. You also mentioned earlier Playboy channel and some of the others.
Yeah.
Like that. Those are subscription channels. If
Yeah,
you want
well,
them- if you want them,
it's cable.
If you want them and I want Playboy in my home or HBO or Showtime, we have to pay an additional fee to get those in the home. Also, you look at, into other areas in the media, take Howard Stern, he's left public radio and has gone to satellite radio with Sirius, which is a paid subscription. There are people that objected some of the content in Howard's program in the mornings, on terrestrial radio, and it's been since moved elsewhere. These things happen, and I don't see moving a time slot as a violation of rights. You still.
Well, it is.
You still are saying what you're saying at whatever hour your show is.
No, I'm not live anymore. I've done a live show, live call-in show. The show has been changed, it's been harmed.
Things do change over time.
Not for me, because that's how I've done it, okay? And as far as my attorney's concerned, that has been harming. That was harming
There's
me.
rules and regulations in the media and other social areas that have changed over time. When I was in college, the drinking age was 18. 90% of the students in college then were of age. Today it's 21. 90% of the students in the university are underage drinking, and that's an issue. Things have changed, schools and students and fraternities, sororities, and other clubs.
Well, then maybe your mind should change too. Maybe your mind should change as far as what I have my rights to my opinion then. Maybe your mind should change to
You do
that.
have a right to an opinion.
But you've taken that away. You've taken my 9 to 10 slot away. That was live call-in with the people, and the people enjoyed that. The people were calling. The phone lines were packed every Friday night, and they're still packed, as a matter of fact. It's not like they're not.
So you could do live call in another hour?
That's right.
Why not?
I do it from 9 to 10 while we're taping,
Why couldn't you?
because they go home.
Studio closes
Do
at
it
10
close at a
o'clock.
later hour.
So,
Yeah.
because the show was shifted to a later hour, it can no longer be live.
But Mr. Bennett, you're also violating rules of Comcast with, against.
They can be blown out, like my attorney said. Those rules don't mean anything. When it gets to court, they get blown out.
Those rules mean nothing with this contract?
Well, they don't actually. They don't. I'm telling you, they don't.
So those rules written by Comcast in New Britain mean nothing on a show that we are airing on Comcast television? Dave, I'm asking you this question.
I wouldn't agree with
Sharon?
that.
Well, no, he wouldn't because he works for Comcast.
And you are violating the rules that are governing your show by using profanity and vulgarity on your show. Those are the rules of Comcast. You are violating those rules. Correct? Those are the rules that are written in the rules and regulations from Comcast, Mr. Bennett, and you are violating those rules.
Okay, those are policies, but under the law, those policies won't cover anything. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. I'm trying to explain that.
No governing.
No, they won't. Under law, they won't. They won't. I'm telling you.
Okay, well, until it gets to that point, we have made a decision. Comcast has changed the broadcast time for your program, and if you have no further comments, I would appreciate us letting you conclude this discussion, because nothing's gonna change here.
Oh, I can see that. I can see that.
And as I said, it is not up to us, it's up to Comcast. We are
Well,
simply-
I'm only doing what I'm told to do, see, to go through the chain. and then when I can't go any further, then letters will be sent out.
We appreciate that.
We
Okay?
appreciate it.
So I'm doing what I gotta do, because
Okay.
I'm going for the lawsuit.
Okay.
And each individual here is gonna be involved, and I hope so, you know, that's it.
Again, it's out
Thanks.
of our hands. We
Oh, no,
appreciate
no,
it.
it's not. That's a cop-out. It's not out of your hands. It wasn't out of your hands to take my airtime away.
We're an advisory board.
We did not take your airtime.
No, you
away.
did. You made the decision to send to Granville your idea of, well, we want to make an adult show out of it. And it's not an adult show. Then you take off Everybody Loves Raymond, take off Sex and the City, take off the rest of them. You're closed-minded people, just what you want to be. That's what it is. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome.
There's such a thing as
Identify yourself.
John McGowan, Bethel, Connecticut,
Address?
8 Fairchild Drive.
Go ahead.
Page 6 of your own rules and regulations. You reference no programs which contain any material otherwise unprotected by the Constitution of the United States. Big T Show has freedom of speech and freedom of press, both of which are in the Constitution. I think the board seems to have forgotten that. Before I continue, let me pass this out. I'm requesting, there's 3 copies, under the Freedom of Information Act, copies of all complaints that have been sent to you guys, both written, about the Big T Show, any memos, notations, documentation, and recordings of verbal complaints, both in person or over the phone, pertaining to the Big T Show. And please provide any other supporting documentation that resulted in the transferring of the Big T Show timeframe. Now, I'm not the producer of the Big T Show. Therefore, if you will not accept that from me, there's 3 copies for T to sign. You can accept his copies.
What is your association with Brother?
I'm the co-host. So I would appreciate,
Your name on the contract?
no, it's not. But I am, as you suggested, a resident of Bethel. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, Robin? Okay. You had suggested earlier that the rules of Comcast are very important to you guys, and they should be followed. Under the minor violations, the first one is a written warning. On page 18, section 2. T was given a written warning on June 13th. On June 21st, he was moved to a different time slot. But there's a second part here, 2B, which says second violation, a written warning marked second notice. 2C, third violation, written warning marked third notice and 30-day suspension from use of Comcast facilities. Section 2D, the fourth violation, written warning marked fourth notice and a 90-day suspension from community access facilities. There is no section E that says you should be moving a show's time frame.
What was the penalty for point 2?
Point 2,
Yeah,
second violation,
yeah.
written warning marked second notice, which to my knowledge he never received. Now, if the written warning was submitted on June 13th, how can you only give him 1 week to improve his show before you decide to terminate his time slot and move him
Excuse me.
on June 21st?
Excuse me. The letter to him from Mr. Glanville is dated August 14th.
Okay, now go before that, was the first letter. The first letter I have, the information I have was June 13th, that's all I can go by.
And again, we do not
Okay.
send out the warnings. That is a Comcast issue.
Okay.
You need to
Now, when
address
these-
those
It's their
concerns.
concern.
It is
When
their
this
concern.
information was presented to you, what were the dates on the videos that you witnessed?
You'd have to go back and look it up. We
I don't
have that with
recall.
us.
I don't have that before.
Okay, that's something that would be very pertinent, because if you're gonna submit a written warning to somebody and then move their show afterwards based on information and videos that were provided to you before the written warning was ever placed, how can you put someone in double jeopardy and penalize them twice? How can you even make that decision without knowing what the dates were in the clips that you were shown?
We don't write the letters, as I said. We watched clips, we determined it was adult programming.
You're not answering my questions.
I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay, well, I hope that will be addressed when you respond to my FOI that I handed out. The violations: failure to cancel a scheduled appointment, failure to label tapes, failure to deliver tapes, failure to meet the technical requirements of tapes, late return of remote video equipment, mishandling of equipment, eating, drinking, smoking in prohibited areas, failure to clean up after using facilities, entering areas established as being off limits, and failure to provide necessary number of crew members. Those are the things listed under the violations to be penalized. Now, under program content, it goes through for, I believe it's 4 pages. There's nothing in here after program content that says that if any of that content is not followed, there are penalties. You have no penalties for not following the program content, which is within your rules and regulations.
If you look at those rules and regulations, the part that you referenced first,
Right.
it says including but not limited to.
That, thank you for reminding me of that. I actually brought that up, up here. Minor violations of the rules governing community access within a 12-month period will result in the following series of actions. And it lists A through D. That's under section 2. When you go to section 3, you're right, it says, but are not limited to. Section 2, which goes A through D with the 4 violations, does not have after it, but are not limited to. Therefore, you guys went beyond the 4 violation codes that are in your own book and moved this time slot when you do not have authority to do so within your own rules and regulations. It's not accurate? Well, then can you tell me,
But the time slot was moved based upon
Yeah, it's also
Connecticut
not-
general statute. It's
can
not
you
based
tell
on.
me where at the end of this sentence it says, but not limited to?
Minor violations,
Mhm.
including an immediate 90-day suspension, these may include but are not limited to the following infractions, and then all that you just talked about.
Okay. And when you go over to the infractions, where does it say moving time slots?
I just read to you, it says it may include the following infractions.
May
including
include.
But not limited to, right, so.
The following infractions.
Including
Infractions
but not
including,
limited to the following infractions or.
but not limited to, not the violations.
Sir?
I'm not gonna
Excuse
argue
me,
with you,
sir.
Mr.
Sir,
Reed.
who's taking pictures, could you please identify yourself to this council?
Yes, I'm a Ridgefield resident. I will be speaking. I did not get a chance to sign in.
The picture taken.
You have a problem with that?
The pictures are being taken for what reason?
My own personal reason.
It's not good enough.
Thank
Sir, and your name, sir?
you. Albert, you should know that.
Why should we know?
I should.
I've never met you before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a problem with me taking your picture?
No problem at all.
Thank you. No problem
I'll
then.
turn around and smile. if you want.
May I sit down?
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you. At my age, a seat is welcome.
And you
Thank
are,
you.
sir?
I'm Bill Goulia,
Could you spell that, please?
and I live at Putnam Park Road, Bethel.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Gulya.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm speaking as a consumer, not as a producer or having affiliated with the production of the programs. But I've been subscribing to Comcast since Comcast moved into the Danbury area. We're behind Hoyts Hill, and Hoyts Hill blocks out all the Norwalk's channels. And Uh, Okay. I'd like to ask you people, have you been in the high schools lately?
I have.
Hmm? Then I will,
In what respect, for what reason?
well, just to look around.
Are you
One,
referring to Bethel High School or all local high schools?
I've been in Bethel High School and I've been in Danbury High School because I've spoken up there at the veterans programs that they have there. And if you could see the dress code that they have up there, you'd think that they're going to a beach. It's not anything like the schools that they have down in Bethel there with St. Mary's School. Did you see Danbury, the new Danbury News Times this morning, today?
What relevance does that have with the Cable Advisory Council?
Well, there were some remarks about the way some of them dress, but when you see some of these commercials that you have on Comcast, I think some of them are way out of line. You see the breasts hanging out, and you see the behinds wiggling around there, and I would say that that doesn't belong on Comcast either.
If these are commercials.
Beg your pardon?
If these are commercials that advertisers have paid for, they all go through an advertising review board by the FCC. They go through the various networks to put them on. And if they're deemed inappropriate, there are many commercials, believe me, that do not make it to the air.
And this board would not have anything to
And
do
this
with
is
it.
And
not-
that's beyond our
and
scope.
that
You know,
definitely-
if a certain network deems that something is within standards to put on the air, Comcast cannot tell MTV, cannot tell ESPN not to run this.
No,
Well,
it's really the 3 channels
Right.
only.
I've seen some of the most ludicrous commercials on Comcast, and you see these fellas from that hamburger place.
Well, I think if you have a problem with the commercials, maybe you need to contact the FCC or contact your congresspeople.
Yeah, but
They would be the only ones who would have any way of making a change. We
Yeah, but
certainly
it's
have no authority.
it's Comcast that puts them on.
We have no control over what Comcast airs for commercials. That is not within the bounds.
ABC, CBS.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not-
out of our scope.
That's out of our scope.
Completely. We
we-
only handle
we
the
also-
channels, 3 channels.
We also had to subscribe to this digital idiot box that you have that used to put out a religious program on Channel 20. Now we get some garbage from our legislature that isn't worth a hoot.
CTN.
And I'd like to see them put the religious channel back on, because that was a good program. And I think Comcast found out that, oh, if you put that on the digital, you'll have to get a digital box, and
Is that
money.
EWTN? Was that EWTN, Mother Angelica? Is that what you're talking about?
well, I
It was on
don't,
Channel 20?
I don't recall, but it was,
Again, that is not within the scope of our authority. We do not determine what Comcast airs on any of the channels.
yeah.
We don't.
Okay, now to get back to Big T's program. It was at a convenient time, and we looked forward to seeing it every Friday night. We saw Lynn Waller and her program, then Kevin, what's his name, Gallagher, with his program, and then we watch Big T's, and then we go back to some other channel for the news. And that time spot in there was practically devoted every Friday night to what we saw. And we would like to have Big T's program get back on at the time where it was before, because I'm 80 in 8 years. And I get kind of tired kind of late in the evening, and I would like to go to bed by 10:30 or 11 o'clock, but when you switch T's program to 11:30, we're up half the night just to watch it, and we do. But
Well, you could always record it and watch it the next day. That's an alternative.
well, I go down to the studio and watch it while it's being taped, but the acoustics in that building are terrible, so that you can't hear very well, except what's being picked up by the microphone in the camera. And I can hear it better on television than I can in the studio itself. Now, the type of program that he has there, he has items of interest that come up. And if you can see by my cap, I am very interested in the Veterans Affairs and civic affairs that have to do with our Congress, our legislature, and our own local government. And I would like to see that continue. And we've had some real discussions on some of those things that do come up as community items. And are you waving to me?
No, I'm sorry, there's a...
Oh, I thought you were waving to shut up.
No, I think there's a bug flying
Yeah.
around.
But I'm very interested in those things that do come up. And I would like to see that put back at the regular time. And as I said before, I'm not a producer, I'm a consumer.
Okay, we appreciate your comments.
And I hope I've gotten a few ideas across. And thank you for listening to me, because my mind doesn't keep up with what I'd like to say.
You did just fine.
Thanks for making that.
Thank you for
Okay,
coming.
thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak?
Yes.
You've already had your time.
Well, I had to review the information that Sharon had pointed out,
Okay, go ahead.
okay? Just that one,
Okay.
2 sentences. Major violations of the rules governing community access will result in an immediate 90-day suspension of the community access facilities, period. It doesn't say limited to beyond or prior to that period. These may include but are not limited to the following infractions. Not limited to is the infractions, not the violations. You guys stepped up.
Introductory paragraph.
What's that?
You have to go back to the introductory paragraph.
I just went to what you pointed out earlier,
You did again.
so.
You can read it, I mean, I think you have
So,
it on.
that's all I wanted to say, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anyone else from the public? Mr.
Yeah.
Broom?
It's unfortunate that I have to address,
Could you give me your address,
excuse me,
please? Could you give me your address,
Identify.
please?
17. Your name?
Carrie Nadell.
I'm sorry?
Carrie Nadell.
How do you spell your last name?
Nadel.
Okay. You live in Ridgefield?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm sorry.
The name is Albert George Broom,
I got
B-R-U-H-N.
that.
Thank you.
I got that. Your address,
The
please.
address is 17 Millview Terrace, Ridgefield, Connecticut, 06877. If you want my phone number.
No, I don't need that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or email address, or website, what have you. I come here with mixed emotions. There are a couple of issues here, obviously. One has to do with Big T, but the other has to do also, I've been asked by the Ridgefield Republican Town Committee to address this committee. And of course, I see some people who are not here. I'm concerned about the Ridgefield teacher, which I need to investigate. But excuse me, let's deal first of all with, I have been asked by the Ridgefield Republican Town Committee to try to get Comcast to try to air, or at least videotape, the Ridgefield Board of Ed meetings.
Okay, before you go any further, that is being addressed.
How is it?
It is being addressed. I have spoken with Mr. Marconi on that issue. It is being worked out with the Board of Education. They are looking to getting equipment, because right now, I believe the Board of Ed meetings are held here?
No.
Or in the next room?
In the next room.
In the next room. I don't believe that there is any equipment, that room is not set up for taping, okay? Right now, they are looking into getting equipment in order to get that accomplished.
Yeah, but there's
So-
also a concern about what is running on government access. Supposedly, I mean, I'm an employee with the Region 9 district, which is Reading and Easton. And, you know, in talking with the, I'm assigned to John Reed Middle School, and in talking with the new media specialist, the question, they're under the jurisdiction of Cablevision. And the question is, for instance, does the state Department of Public Utilities require all carriers to provide 3 channels? In other words, one for public access, one for educational access, and one for government access. Comcast has it so that it's 1 channel for each for the 3 municipalities. But like with Cablevision, they, in some cases, each town has its own public access, its own educational access, its own government access. But then there's a general public access for all the towns or cities connected to it. So that's an issue. I mean, that is a concern.
That's pretty much dependent upon the capacity of that local cable operator as well.
But how is that congruent, though? I don't know, and I should know, with DPUC.
That answer I don't have at the moment, but the number of channels can be offered is dependent upon the capacity that Comcast DVR can run, the Cablevisions in the southern part of Fairfield County, the northern part of Fairfield County, Time Warner and Westchester can run.
I'm sorry, I'm sure.
Several years ago, we only had 2 access channels. We had the educational access and we had community access. This goes back, what, 4 or 5 years, Dave? We had a need for government channel of access for the town, and Comcast was able to provide that 3rd channel, where in the past, you know, there was shared information across the 2 channels. And with what you said, if 2 towns have their own school channel, et cetera, that again depends on what the franchise agreement was originally drawn up as, and again, channel capacity as well.
No, let's focus just on Comcast. They have 3 channels, one for public, one for education, one for government.
Correct.
But now there's an issue with Bethel. The issue with Bethel is that they have a Board of Ed meeting that can be videotaped, and the question is whether or not it's just broadcast on the educational channel or on government channel. It used to be with Dr. Fan, he would videotape anything in Bethel, put it on public access. I assume now it goes on on the government access, right?
No,
He just hasn't been producing.
No, he's still on the public.
Okay, so that's an issue. I mean, that's you know, in a way, as far as I'm concerned, irrelevant, but still, it's relevant per se, you know. So that's a question about, well, let's say, getting back to the Ridgefield Board of Ed. If, you know, they should feel responsible to have their meetings videotaped and broadcast, whether it be on, you know, Tiger TV, you know, the educational access, which is
It will be on 24, which is the government.
the government channel,
and
so
they
that
are-
will be.
Yes, and
Okay.
they are working on getting that
Okay, good.
accomplished.
Now, the other issue is, of course, people know that I am America's first longest-running public access producer, host, whatever, America. This is my 30th year. I'm writing a book. I'm with the top-notch attorney in the country. We're working on other books, too. I'm concerned about this issue. I thought I was going to bring this thing to closure nicely, but now all of a sudden we have a hot issue, which is the Tom Bennett story. The question is, I need to follow it through. I did have him on my show on 9/11. I heard his side. I did invite the opponent. He chose not to attend. That's his choice, his free will, whatever. I'm concerned about the issue here about, I know that Tom Bennett is still allowed to broadcast. The issue is whether it's live or a taped format. And I think that's really what needs to be addressed. You know, were his rights violated? I don't know. He told me on the program, because I work, I'm a coach at, also coach at WestCon. I have Justin Mazzarisi, who's an employee of WestCon. We did co-anchor that program, and basically, Mr. Bennett did say that he was going to pursue legal action. I'm concerned about that. If he does, then we need to follow through on that. But my question is, from what I've been told, there are some major issues here. How this whole committee your council heard information or had access to information to make a decision to recommend that Tom Bennett's program be removed from that time, that live time, Friday between 9 and 10 p.m. to a taped format Friday at 11:30 p.m. I mean, if Tom went along with that, that's fine. Then it's not an issue. Again, there's never an issue until somebody says there's an issue. Obviously, there appears to be an issue. My take on this whole thing, I will follow it strictly as a reporter. I'm just saying that I'm concerned. You know, I need to know what really is going on. I'm concerned about if Tom's not happy, we need to deal with that. I'm concerned about somebody coming in and just because of his own background or her own background, whatever, and looking at the situation. There's a very jaded situation in this particular individual who has masterminded a situation that has gotten this council to go along with its way of thinking, to get Comcast to go along with its way of thinking, or your way of thinking, I should say, this council, to go ahead and recommend that Tom be taken off a live format into a tape situation. So I'm just here as a reporter, and I will follow it through. I don't think personally this thing is going to be resolved within the year. Quite frankly, if Tom does follow through legally, I will deal with this only in the sense of with my own attorney, who is top-notch in the country, just to get his perspective. But my take on it is that if he does pursue it, eventually you'll be told that he will have to be reinstated in live. I'm sure that's going to be countered. This thing is going way up to the top. I think it'll be a national issue down the pike. So I'm just saying to you, you know, it's like fair warning kind of thing. I think it's unfortunate this thing could not have been resolved beforehand. As an educator in any situation like this, you want to resolve it at the school level, you know, almost at the grade level, teacher level, whatever. Now it's gone to the board level and above and beyond. And of course, anybody can get involved from this point on out, you know. It's unfortunate, you know. There are a lot of things Tom says I don't personally believe in. But I do believe in freedom of speech. And there's nothing in the First Amendment that says anything about hate speech or whatever that is. And I will support anybody. They have a right to say whatever they want. They don't want to listen to it, then fine, don't listen to it. That's it. So, case closed.
Again, as we tried to explain earlier, the only determination made by this council was in viewing the clips and the language that was spoken, advocating shooting illegal immigrants. This council determined that it was adult programming. Following action was taken by Comcast, it was taken out of our hands, and the changing of the time slot was based upon Connecticut general statutes, not our rules, but on Connecticut general statute, which allows Comcast to move a program which is determined to be of an adult nature to what we call the safe harbor hour, as Kara indicated, to a later hour.
I hear you in that sense. I don't want to comment above and beyond that because I don't want to litigate this situation. I hear you.
We have no
The rest of it is really up to Tom. I am concerned that what I have been told, you know, gives a very jaded picture about really what's going on. I think if I were a member of this council, probably I would have asked for an executive session, whatever, try to work with Dave King. I think he's great. He's served me well, at least in all my years, all the years that I've dealt with him, to try to resolve this issue and not allow this to become to this point, because I think from here on out it's going to just escalate.
We appreciate your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Someone else?
That would be me.
Okay, your name, sir?
Al Robinson,
Your address?
182 Osborne Street, Danbury.
Go ahead.
All right. First, I'd like to thank the members of the Cable Advisory Board for, I'm sorry. First of all, I'd like to thank the members of the Cable Advisory Board for taking action the last time I was here and deeming Mr. Bennett's show as adult content and advising the Comcast to move the show from the current slot of 9 to 10 to after 10 o'clock, which is a safe harbor hour. I won't repeat myself on a lot of stuff I said the last time because we all know what I came to present the last time. It's on the record. What I did come here for is to talk about what has happened since the show has been moved to 11:30. As you are well aware, Comcast gave Mr. Bennett a written warning on June 13th, saying that, please be advised that this letter constitutes notice that the Big T Talking Variety Show will be subject to suspension for 90 days if there's any other further violations of Section 3 of the Community Access Rules and Regulations. Looking under the rules and regulations that I have here, I think this is the most updated version. Maybe you changed a couple of words, but under Section 3, numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 3, no libelous, slanderous, or illegal material. Number 4, no obscene material, sexually explicit conduct, or material soliciting or promoting unlawful conduct. Number 5, no material which incites violence or harmful acts on other persons. Number 6 and number 7 are not relevant to what I'm going to be talking about here. Before I get into what I have to say in terms of these shows that have come on after this time period, I have been somewhat disturbed and somewhat concerned about the comments from Mr. Bennett and Mr. Brune on future shows that have come on after this warning has been put down. I've heard some what I would consider to be slanderous or defaming remarks in which my sexuality has been called into question. That I have somehow a gay roommate, which is new news to me, or a gay roommate in college, which is new news to me, and not only is it brand new news to me, but I don't see the relevance upon that on his content being removed or him addressing what he said on his show. Also, he's said on several occasions that because I'm black, I must have somehow intimidated the Cable Advisory Board into making their decision because I'm black, so boo. This type of material that I heard here is just not only outrageous, but it's also slanderous, and it's also defaming, which goes back to the Section 3, content number 3, no libelous, slanderous, or illegal material being on the show. This has been repeated time and time and time again. This has also been addressed online as well. There's been comments made online, and I have evidence to support my point that Mr. Brune has made these comments online that I am actually gay, that I have a gay roommate as well. I have that material, and I am looking into how I can address that legally, because I think that's also quite outrageous for somebody to actually come out there and say this stuff and promoting a type of an agenda like I have some type of vendetta to knock somebody off the air. This is not about free speech. It's never been about free speech. I'm a journalist. Been a journalist for about 20 years. Went to school for English. I love English. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all the amendments. This is about a contract violation. This is about somebody who signed a contract. And when they signed the contract, they said they adhere to all the rules within this contract. On page 4 of Community Access Producers' Responsibilities, it says the community access producer must adhere to all the community access rules and regulations stated with here and is responsible for ensuring
please,
that the program.
You're out of order.
Yes, I am. This is the same guy that's got me involved with the Nazi Party, Ku Klux Klan, and other organizations I have nothing to do with. It's a vendetta, and that's what you're not seeing.
If you
Okay?
want to speak, wait.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
They don't see that, do they? Got me tied up with the Nazi Party, the Ku Klux Klan,
Out.
and all these other organizations, you lying bastard.
Get out.
Not one of those organizations am I involved in. It's a vendetta, and those people are stupid.
Get
Because
out.
they're listening to you.
Well, excuse me, if he's leaving, I'll have to leave too. But I was a teacher for 25 years, and I saw a lot of the stuff that is going on in the school today. And he's a whack.
I'm also studying to become a teacher also, and I think this is one of the situations where if I do become a teacher, I will love to teach an individual or students about the First Amendment, the rights, and the fact that if you have a problem with something, you should be able to speak up, speak your mind, and say, hey, look, I don't like what you're saying. Because of my freedom of speech, I have the right to say, look, I don't like what you're saying. I want something done about it. I want to speak out about it. I wish I was at Central, actually. I can say something about that damn newspaper up there. But going back on section number C.
Oh. Oh.
ask for a brief recess?
He's not gonna do
Re-
it. He's not gonna do it.
You never know. So
Well, let's
Have a
recess.
Would you like to recess?
Okay,
That's
recess,
fine.
okay.
Thank you. No problem.
Anybody need a drink of water while we're at it, or a bathroom?
Dave, you all set?
Yeah.
That's probably all.
Okay, meeting back in session.
Break is over.
Okay.
Be brief.
I'll be as brief as possible. I'll be as quickly as possible. I don't want to take a lot of your time.
Speak up, please.
I'm sorry, it's my voice, sorry about that. Section C, Community Access Producers' Responsibilities. It says right here, the community access producer must adhere to all the community access rules and regulations stated within and responsible for ensuring that the program and the individuals involved in the production adhere to the rules and policies set forth in this document. A producer reads this, they sign a contract. That means that, hey, look, I'm going to adhere to this stuff within the contract. This is not about freedom of speech. It's about a person violating the contract, breaking the promise that he has made when he signed this contract. Simple. That's it. I presented 33 DVDs to each member of the committee. I hope you all had an opportunity to read that or watch the footage. On August 24th, Mr. Bennett made a threat towards me on air. One of the things we talked about at the last meeting was that we can't stop a lot of this stuff because it's live. It's not tape, it's live, so we can't do anything because it's live. Well, he made the threat to me on tape at 11:30 at night, which meant this was taped at 9 o'clock because if I'm correct, it's windows between 9 to 10 to be in the studio, and it was shown at 11:30. A threat was made to me in which he said, and with this Connecticut blogger, he's a bastard. He's a very evil, vindictive person, and yes, I openly say that I won't have a problem at all spending a couple of nights in jail for smacking him right in his face. I'll have no problem with that. When I meet him face to face, I will knock him on his ass. I will smash him, and that's not a threat. That's a goddamn promise. So I gotta say what I gotta say. And John McGowan says, you got a right to say it. No, you don't. You have a right to say that on Comcast. It's against the rules. It's clearly against the rules. Okay, September 7th. One of the main problems that we had that we determined that this was an adult program was that he advocated that residents go out and shoot immigrants. And he advocated that he wants to shoot immigrants. September 7th. They need to be shot. They're criminals. What is wrong with me saying shoot these bastards? Kill them dead and bury them in their own damn country, not here. What's wrong with that? And then in the background we hear shots of guns. Mr. McGowan says, nothing. There's plenty wrong with that. That's why the program was moved in the first place. I mean, we clearly have some problems here. You sent him a letter on June 13th saying if you keep it up, we're going to knock you off for 90 days. He's not getting the message, folks. I mean, how many more times do I need to come up here every 3 months to present this?
Again,
I think.
it is, unfortunately,
Right.
it is out of our hands. It is in the hands of Comcast.
Yes, so my question is directed at Comcast now. The last time we were here, we talked about a lot of the stuff, the content that was on the show, the sexually explicit content that was on the show, the threats of violence on the show, and I think one of the arguments was that the show was live. Wasn't much you can do because it was live. Now we have a taped show. I want to understand, since a threat was made towards me, and I would just want to add that I did call the Danbury Police Department about this, and I did make a complaint about this. There wasn't enough at this point to force them to make an arrest on Mr. Bennett, but they are very aware of this situation. I want to know why, if this thing was taped between 9 to 10, did somebody review this stuff before it went on the air? We got something here from August 24th from my life was threatened. You know, I think about my life, I'm thinking about my life, my wife, my kid. I don't know what this guy's going to do. You saw him here. You got here on the 7th. He said he repeated the exact same thing that resulted in his show being moved. That one determining factor, in which, although I think there's a lot more, there's a whole lot more, because he did a lot of stuff. That sexually explicit stuff is out of control, and he blames it on the individual instead of him making the comment. He blames me, saying that I set him up with that. Like, I'm going to call a 15-year-old girl and tell her to call the show and say this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's outrageous. I don't have to do this. He does a very good job burying himself. So I want to know How is it that these two remarks on these 2 dates got past the screening process between 10 o'clock to 11:30 and that went on the air?
I think as far as I know, currently, that tape is not reviewed before it goes on.
It's reviewed as it's being recorded. But obviously, there's a very short turnaround time
Right.
between the time that it's recorded and then it goes on the air.
One of the provisions of the access rules is that shows can be reviewed, I'm not sure exactly how it's, they can be reviewed prior to make sure they comply with the rules prior to airing. So we're looking, our corporate legal department is looking into applying that process possibly in this situation for future tapings.
Do you see some type of concern in the remarks that he made on those 2 dates?
I would have to take a look at the tape, but from what you said, they do sound like they would be of concern to you.
Right. I'm just wondering, I just think something needs to be done here, and I understand that the Cable Advisory Board can't do much anymore. And again, I do thank you very much for what you have done in deeming this thing adult content. But I do really think that at this point, something needs to be done about this, because it's clear to me, and it's clear to a lot of people that I'm here representing, that this is not going to stop. That he did not learn that, hey, look, there's some things you just can't say. This is a contract. This is a contract violation. This has nothing to do with freedom of speech. It just doesn't. And you said, even in your letter, if this continues, your show's going to be knocked off for 90 days. I just showed you 2 instances in which you violated that very rule. Again.
And those tapes have been forwarded to our corporate legal department, so they are reviewing them to see if they're in violation of the rules. So
Okay.
they do have them down in Philadelphia right now.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else more to say. I think, again, thank you very much for your time and your consideration and the opportunity to speak here.
Okay, we have 7-10-second delay dump buttons for live programs.
Yeah.
Your name, sir?
Ivan Alsame.
Spell that for me, please.
Ivan Ivion. Alsame ALCIME.
Okay, and your address?
2 Midfield Road, Danbury, Connecticut.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I have a different issue that I have with Comcast. I think that you have enough people discussing this current issue about the rules and freedom of speech. But my problem with Comcast is that it is on the record that we have more people watching Comcast in this area than anywhere in the United States. It's what you call grassroots work. This is where people get to know the issues locally, the politics, etc. And given that we don't have a newspaper really like addressing the issues, people tune in into Comcast and they watch. I have a TV show, and they watch me, they watch Lynn Waller, they watch Big T, they watch everybody else.
Public access, not just.
Public access, right, public access. So, for the life of me, I don't understand why we still have equipments that is outdated. I don't get it. I mean, other Comcast, it's like they have like digital stuff, and they don't use cassettes anymore. They use DVDs, but yet people barely watch them. But we still using the same stuff back in the 80s, and we generate money for Comcast because people tune in, they watch the show, they like what we're doing.
We asked the same question.
And then I mean we have this thing here. It is pathetic.
Oh, that's from Comcast?
That's from Comcast, and sometimes that stuff doesn't even work. It's absolutely pathetic, and I believe that people watch the show. I mean, we have more shows than any other, cities, but they treat us like we are the bastard child. I don't know. And then another thing is that we do work, so most of the shows are booked from 5 on, right?
The shoots, yeah, they tend to happen late Late afternoon.
Late afternoon because we work. So Charter, they open on Saturdays sometimes to accommodate their people. So if we all work and then we actually generating money for you guys, try to accommodate us because we're taking our time to address the issues. Everything is free. You know, we don't get paid. So all I'm asking is please give us something.
Well, I think maybe what needs to happen is that the producers who work with the equipment all the time need to become vocal about the equipment. This is the first time that we have ever heard anyone complain about the equipment. I mean, we have
Not
work,
with bricks, but,
you know,
Excuse me, I've brought it up before.
but you're always very nice today. You never,
You're too nice, Lynn.
you're nice
We're
today.
also doing inventory.
And we've done, yeah, we've done. But what we're looking to have someone come in and inventory the equipment and give us a good assessment of what is there and what we should have there. So that's something else that we're working on. But Comcast is the one that has to come up with the money to replace the equipment. Again, we can't force them to do it. We can ask. We can do this assessment that we have talked about.
But here it is right there. AT&T is coming in, and they're giving like a better deal than Comcast is giving right now. So, I mean, you have to work with us because we can turn around and then start talking about this on the air. We don't want to do that because we want to push the issue here first.
Let me just suggest, if you have a plan of action as to what you think needs to be priority in terms of upgrading equipment, we'd certainly welcome you to put together a proposal with respect to that. We received, at least I did, a list of all of the inventory that Mr. King provided us and when it was purchased, and that some of the equipment is older, 20, 25 years, maybe 30 years, and they haven't purchased a new piece of equipment in, I think, 4 or 5 years. But, you know, if you want to, you would do that, I'm sure you get the support of the council in trying to present it to Comcast. I mean, they're not going to replace everything at once, but I mean, we need some guidance from people who have the technical expertise as to what is outdated and what needs to be replaced in what order, because it's not going to get just done immediately, but we need to present Comcast with some suggestions. Now, I have every reason to believe that they would listen to us, and you obviously are concerned enough that you came here to address us on that issue, but I'm asking you permission of the council has put together a proposal. Do you have a list of the equipment that's in there that I'm talking about? Please, we can
No, I
provide you
don't.
with one.
Okay.
We have an extra.
I don't have an extra, but Ivan, if you give me your email address, I can
Okay.
email it to you.
Good.
And-
I'm sorry.
ahead.
IALCIME@yahoo.com.
you know, in the list you provide back might not have to be brand and model specific, but the type of equipment.
Right,
Because obviously,
We want to go
they want
digital.
to see which components fit better with some of the existing equipment and what can, migrate forward.
Okay. Another thing I want to say that I'm going to say something about Al Brun, talking about when you talk about the Republican town committee here.
Mhm.
I videotaped something for him
Right.
for them there, and then McConey didn't want to put it on the air. So this is not really about an equipment issue. I mean, the
Well-
job could be done.
Well, there was a minor issue in the very beginning, but there has been talk between Mr. Marconi and the Board of Education, and they will start airing their Board of Ed meetings. They are looking into getting the equipment, because right now there's nothing in that room.
But it's also not Comcast's responsibility to buy that.
No, it's not, we're not
No, it's
talking about
not, right.
Comcast buying the equipment. But the Board of Education is looking into purchasing equipment so that they can televise their meetings. So they are addressing it. I spoke with Mr. Marconi's office today again.
Okay.
But I know the meeting that you're talking about was the one that Mr. Watson wanted to have aired
Right.
back in June.
Yeah.
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 I
And it's
know
still.
there was a slight problem with that, but I think that is being addressed.
Okay.
It is being addressed.
Okay. And last thing, I just want to make a comment regarding this whole issue that's going on right now. I know that it's you guys have done what you're supposed to do, and Comcast is looking into it. And I would like to say that it's sad to see this issue has gotten to the point where where it is right now. I feel that if somehow this board was actually being responsible, and I'm not trying to disrespect any of you, and pretty much caught this issue at early on, we probably wouldn't have gotten some of the negative press that we have gotten. I'm a producer myself, and I would hate to see another producer going down like that. But I do understand that in anything that you do, there are rules and regulations. But I also say that we all producers are doing good job at Comcast, like addressing the issues. But sometimes when we are not doing our jobs, and I feel that something should be done before the media, pretty much, because once the media, gets involved, it's no right. We cannot return to it. And I
don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you received his warning letter before the meeting was involved. So, this goes back a few months.
Okay. I just want to say to try to be vigilant. Try, at least if you in the area, every now and then watch the show, see what's going on for yourselves, and at least you will have a good idea of what we do at a Comcast.
We have been watching the shows, and that's why we are aware of what has been spoken on the show. I have been watching them.
Okay.
If not in person, I have been reviewing the tapes. Okay, and so I have heard with my own 2 ears. Not hearsay, but I have seen it myself, as many of us have.
Okay.
Okay? And it's very offensive to all of us. And we realize there are issues with the immigrants, but I don't think that anybody should be saying that you should go out and shoot immigrants.
Look, I'm an immigrant, so I don't want that to be said. Right. So,
Let's face it, we're all
right.
immigrants.
Right. So I just all I'm saying is that let's try to catch these things early on, before they create before like a bad name create for all of us as a producer.
Okay. We appreciate your
Okay.
comment.
All right. Thank you.
And I will email this to you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
I need to respond in defense of Comcast.
You want to,
Respond in defense of Comcast. Now, let's face it, goes back to the fall of 1978, when we had in the Danbury Public Library, in the basement, we had this real crude equipment, reel-to-reel. Paul,
Baker.
well, it wasn't Paul Baker, he was on the commercial side. We had real crude equipment, and we would put together a program, and we did the best we could, and there was no time-based corrector, and the thing would like slant over, whatever, and the whole bit. I think Dave has done a great job, and I unequivocally, unconditionally, whatever, the guy's done a great job. I think that he tries the best he can with what he has, the resources he has, to make sure that equipment is always functional. Of course, it could always be better.
well, we all acknowledge that Dave is doing a great job, and he's working with the equipment that Comcast is giving him.
Last time you hear that, Dave.
But I have to say, too, back in 1978, when I did live call-ins, I was the first controversial talk show host, we had a 7-second delay. We don't have that. It's not possible. I mean, that would help, too, but then you get into the whole issue about freedom of speech and what have you. I want to congratulate what Comcast has done. I will, stay on record, and I think they've done a superb job. I always know things can be a lot better, what have you. My issue with Mr. Robinson, of course, I have to say that I do have the email accounts and his email to me, that he refused to cooperate. He had every right, every chance to come on, and either come on, in person during the 9/11 live broadcast, or to call in. He chose not to do that. Bottom line, we don't have a 7-second delay. Mr. Bennett did make reference to his sexual preference. I could care less if somebody calls in and says, "Look, Albert, you're this, and this, and whatever." it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care. If it means something to you, obviously, then there's something there, and you have to deal with that, you say. So that said, that's a moot issue, see. That's the bottom line. I think it's unfortunate if I could, that was the whole intent of my program, was to bring Mr. Robinson on. He chose not to, okay, and Mr. Bennett, to try, as an educator, as an administrator, to try to get them to resolve this issue. If we don't resolve it here, this thing is going above. I don't know who's calling what. I don't know who's pushing his buttons. I don't know who's pushing Tom's buttons. I really don't care. But I think we need to deal with that issue. I think Dave's in a very difficult situation to do that.
Well, it's out of Dave's hands. It's in the hands of Comcast corporate and the legal department.
But
Comcast legal will determine what is going to happen with that program. This council has no authority to do that.
Right.
So the whole issue is moot. It's in the hands of Comcast.
Right.
I can't speak for Mr. Robinson, but first time I've seen him, he could have not come on that program, maybe he didn't want to get anything there.
That's his choice. That's his
Maybe
choice.
invite him to another program of yours, maybe just the two of you talking.
And I did do that too, prior to that program.
But I think it's very hypocritical, to say that, because when you stand there and you're already cited with big T.
Excuse me. Prior to that program, I did say to Mr. Robinson, he can come on my program.
Excuse me.
I will give him questions, that he can write.
We'd like you to take this offline.
Yes.
Okay, but I'm saying, I know, that gets into the production of
It's not
it.
belong here, so
This
you guys.
is,
I hear that,
if you
you're
have
right.
any further comments, we'll listen to them. Otherwise,
It's offline.
it's offline and time is moving on here. So do you have any additional comments?
And that's it, bottom line.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we appreciate it.
Real
Just
quick,
want a quick
nothing to do with
response.
Bennett, nothing to do with Mr. Brown,
All right.
whatever.
Quick response.
Real quick, I wanted to talk about this the last time I was here. I forgot, and I almost forgot now, but this is very important because we're in an election season. We have an election coming up in November. I need to know what is permitted on Channel 24. What type of programming, then what type of programming can be on Channel 24, what type of programming cannot be on Channel 24? I say this because on Tuesday and Thursday, Danbury is Danbury's day. They can do their stuff on Danbury. I did see a screen several times saying coming soon live with Mayor Boughton on DTV, which is Channel 24. Now, seeing that this is an election year, I think that is very disturbing because my understanding is that Channel 24 was designed to get gavel-to-gavel meetings. That's it. Gavel-to-gavel Board of Ed, EIC, zoning, planning, Common Council, that's it. Not to be doing like some live talk show or,
No, I don't think it's, no, I don't believe that would be permitted, especially if it's to be used for political purposes,
You may have to
for
talk to him,
promoting
because
himself.
He says he's read the rules and regulations, and he thinks he can do this, that, and the
It's an
other.
interpretation issue.
Well, again, we'll have to have Comcast look at the rules.
I'm
He hasn't
very
done anything yet, has he?
He hasn't done anything yet, but again, I'm very concerned that this is an election year, that an elected official can use Channel 24 for their own purposes.
Right,
And if that's the case, that needs to be put on Channel 23.
right. Okay,
You know-
that's something we'll look into.
All right?
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you. I'm sorry? Is that it? Any more members of the public?
Public speaking.
Motion to close public speaking?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's continue with our agenda. The adoption of the minutes of the June 21st meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
A motion that we accept the minutes from the previous meeting?
Okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. I only have a couple of things. I had forwarded a couple of emails to Sharon that were sent to me by customers, and she may want, I don't know if you want to address those now or during the Comcast report. It's up to you.
Yeah, they were responded to. See, my, I don't like to put them in the report because of names and
Okay,
customer
that's
information. But the ones that you do forward to me, I pass them on to our executive customer care group, and they call the customers and speak to them individually.
Okay, all right, So they have an address?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, that's it. That's, I believe that's it. And the other one was the Ridgefield Board of Ed, and I think that has been addressed as well. The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
That's that, a couple of these. At our last meeting, our opening balance was $9,941.49, and our current balance is $9,751.06. We did have some supplies paid for and some take income, which are showing on the balance sheet that I'm passing out. So I think that is it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Seconded.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard, motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Comcast report.
I have to real quick.
Okay.
I listed at the beginning, CN8, the Comcast network is going to air some of the Connecticut high school football games, including the CIAC Championship live on December 1st. Comcast is partnering with Partnership for a Drug-Free America by investing money in advertising and on-demand services to support programs to help with the resources parents need to help their children live drug-free lives.
That's Comcast corporate, right?
Right,
Philly?
that's Comcast corporate. Kristen Roberts was going to be here, but today she took ill, unfortunately this afternoon, so maybe I can get her to come to the next meeting. But the issue was she kind of wanted to talk about community outreach and kind of describe the grants that Comcast corporate gives to various nonprofit and charitable groups in the various franchise areas we serve, and what the parameters of those grants are. They're like for literacy and other educational issues, and kind of pick your brains as to what organizations in the Danbury, Bethel, Ridgefield area might be interested in receiving some of those funds or applying for some of those funds. So maybe I can get her to come to the next meeting to kind of go over that with you. A couple of marketing things. This goes back to July. I think that was the last time we met. And customers were notified about all these changes. The first one was the NFL network, which was deleted from the Canales Selecto tier and the digital preferred tier, but it does remain on the sports entertainment tier. On August 29th, WWOR was launched on 236. That's a must-carry channel for us in Danbury, and as a result, we had to move a couple of other channels in order to accommodate it on the analog lineup. So Bravo moved, CMT moved, and that's it. On September 3rd, the price for the DVR service, that's the monthly DVR, HD, and standard def charge, that increased by $3. And finally, September 18th, Music Choice is relocating some of the channel positions in the digital lineup. I also attached...
While you're in this portion, is there any chance you're going to be bringing ESPNU to the Danbury region?
Not that I'm aware of. I can check with marketing. I think at this time, I don't think there are any plans to, but I can check with them and find
Because
out.
I know they carry the Husky games and that sort of thing, and we're still in Connecticut, even though most people don't think so.
There was a Husky game on last Sunday, or Saturday, on SNY, or one of the New York area
It's in
regional.
the newspaper that ESPNU is carrying a lot of the Husky games, and I know I've heard from people that would like to see them, and we don't have it on
But
our...
I did see last Saturday's game was on one of the sports channels.
Yeah, it's on it.
It was on Saturday
SNY,
night.
right?
Yeah, I can check with our marketing group and see what plans are for that.
Thank you.
I also attached a copy of the Big T letter regarding the move to the later time slot, so you guys can have a copy of that. And Dave, I don't know if you have any information on new programs or...
I just have a few things here. I didn't make too many copies. Real quick, we've implemented a new method of tracking information for the DPUC report. So the access producers and crews will like this because there is now just one sign-in sheet. There used to be 2 sign-in sheets. You have to fill out all this information and stuff. So we've narrowed that down to just one sheet now, which is good. As you know, to just reiterate, the Big T Talk and Variety Show has moved to a new time slot effective on August 17th. Instead of airing live, the program is now pre-taped and aired on Friday evenings at 11:30 p.m.
Excuse me, can I ask just one question there?
Yep.
Is there a live studio audience? And if so, is that permitted? Are there any regulations governing how many people are allowed in the production studio?
We're looking into that. It's never, we have had other shows in the past with live audiences, and it's never really been an issue. You know, it hasn't been that many people that it ever became a concern, but.
Isn't there come a point where there's a maximum number of people who can be?
There's probably a fire
Yeah, that's what
code,
I'm
you know,
concerned about.
and I don't happen to know what that number is, but I think we're in the process of looking into that.
Why 11:30 and not, I know 10 to 11 is taken, but why not 11 to 12?
I was directed to play at 11:30.
Why 11:30 instead of 11?
And who directed
I assume Comcast.
Yeah, it was you know,
the Lakeland corporate?
yeah. It was, I forget who it was specifically.
I mean, if the
But you
time
would-
isn't needed to view the show, because at the moment you're not viewing it, why have we pushed it off so late? For some people who really did enjoy it, 11:30 to 12:30 is quite late, even for this gentleman.
Yeah, I can't really answer that. It's just, it's what I
I hate to
was
suggest this.
requested to do.
But is there any chance that we could look at putting him on at 11 instead of 11:30?
Is there anything broadcast in that half-hour slot?
No.
No.
So we have blank air then.
I mean, many people may think that we're off the air. I mean, I don't know.
Correct.
Well, are we gonna start getting complaints about, the other chant about, C-SPAN not going on at midnight, and going on at 12:30? That could be the other issue we run into.
Yeah, because we are preempting them for an extra
Yeah, for
half
no
hour.
extra half. I mean, people are complaining now that they don't have enough C-SPAN.
Because 11 p.m. is still safe harbor, safe harbor hours.
I'm sorry, I had to walk out and call my home. We want to move to 11 o'clock.
Lynn had a question, was that why was T's program put on at 11:30, not 11 o'clock? And there was no 11 to 11:30 program, which is still safe harbor.
Yeah, we can check into that, because I don't think anyone was knowing it was 11:30.
Well, the first week he lost the last half hour. I mean, it was on 11 to 12 and it
Yeah,
was
we
going
had
to
a
cease,
cut over.
but that's been
technical glitch.
fixed. So
Okay.
I'm just curious.
And again, you know, if it's a blank air, people may just perceive that there's no
We're done. We're
Yeah,
done for the
that's
night.
what I'm saying. It may not be a fair representation of what's actually happening on there.
We're going to be offering our next training course beginning on Friday, October 5th. It's going to run for 6 consecutive weeks. We have a few items out for repair right now, 2 camera headsets and 2 lavalier microphones, and hopefully they'll be back soon. We have 3 new shows that are airing on the channel. One is called, they're called John McGowan Presents, which is a program by John McGowan. Dolly Curtis Interviews, and a brand new one called Stand Up Connecticut, which is from the Secretary of State, Susan Meiser.
What does that involve? What does that involve from the Secretary of State?
A political show or
What
a
is
general
it?
information?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is it voter, having to do with voting and teaching people how to vote, or what is it?
I haven't watched it
And when
in
does
that
it
much
air?
detail.
When does it air?
That is going to be on, I think, Thursdays at 7, perhaps.
Who's producing?
It comes out of Hartford.
It's produced by the state, for Susan
Who sponsors
Bice.
it?
I'm just
There's-
saying that it'd be Susan Bice who's expressed interest in running for.
There's a local
other offices.
resident who sponsors the show locally, and they just deliver the tapes to us. It's, it's not produced at our studio or anything. It's what's called a bicycle tape.
Okay. The video production course, are there any openings still?
Yeah, there are actually.
How many do we have?
As many as you want.
Seriously?
Well, we've gotten requests from like 10 people to be in the class, and we've sent out notifications to all of them to respond to confirm if they can do it or not.
Uh-huh.
And, our track record is, we'll hear back from, maybe 60% of them, and so we could use some more people actually.
When do you need to hear by?
within the next week or two.
Before October.
Before October 5th.
Before October 5th, okay. that makes sense. I think we probably have a couple
If
people.
you got some existing crew people, or you want to get some new crew people
We
going.
want to get some additional.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because we really need a good number in the class to make it effective. If there's
Yeah.
not enough people,
I understand.
it doesn't work.
Who's running the class, Keenan?
And then finally, we're gonna have, Kevin Gallagher is gonna be doing his timeout election night live coverage on Tuesday, November 6th. They'll be going on live starting at 8 o'clock. And, they do a good job. They focus on the local elections, which is information you can't really get anywhere else. So it's
Well, on
nice.
TV, get it on LID.
True.
Yeah.
But as far as TV is concerned,
There's nothing on it.
yeah. So it's nice, there's a lot of talk about our three towns, Bethel, Danbury, and Ridgefield.
And that's because you run throughout the night?
Hmm?
It's gonna run throughout the night? Kevin's program?
I think, they'll go like from 8 to 11, I think, something like that. They usually have all the returns in by then.
The new voting machines, it's gonna be interesting.
That's true.
It'll be faster. Won't take as long.
Hopefully.
But to vote.
Well, to vote it will.
Yeah.
You should have started that on that state.
We did it in
election,
Bethel
rather
already
than
once.
municipal.
We did it in Bethel once already.
Yeah.
Oh,
With
did you?
with dots, yeah,
Yeah.
I forget what we voted on.
Was it
Referendum.
Referendum, right.
Oh,
In May, was that May? Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever
And
the,
that wraps up my report.
Okay. Old business? We've covered all the old business and then some. New business. Okay, this is where we're gonna use Carrie's expertise in a lot of this correspondence that we have deals with the whole AT&T issue. And maybe he can, I'll run through a couple of items that don't deal with that, and then I'd like him to go over and explain to us exactly what that entails. I'll start with the DPUC requesting written comments and reply comments having to do with DPUC annual community support, access support review. And we did not respond. There were a few questions that might have been addressed to advisory council, but since we have never received, have not been copied on anything having to do with AT&T, I didn't see any reason for us to respond. The next item is Robinson and Cole, July 27th letter dealing with some of the programming changes, which I believe Sharon has already covered in her report. Next item, which kind of covers old business, was Robin's letter to the DPUC. August 10th, Robinson and Cole letter to the DPUC having to do with the joint application of Adelphia, Time Warner, and Comcast. And it looks as though that's all finalized, and these were just interrogatories that were submitted, responses that were submitted to the DPUC. Any questions? Okay, and the next thing is this docket 07-05-23 having to do with community access funding and the AT&T issue. And then the other item is AT&T responding comments, and the other item is the Office of Consumer Counsel with their written comments, which we will have Carrie address. The other item is the August 14th Comcast letter to Mr. Bennett. Next item is Robinson and Cole letter re Comcast programming changes and channel additions, and I believe Sharon has covered all of those.
May I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I missed 73. I was taping some show on 73, and I couldn't find it, and I hadn't gotten any of this stuff at the time, and I called your call center. And they told me Bravo was still on 73. And I said, well, it's not on my set. And she said, that's where it says that it is here. And I didn't find it for another week. So the people in the call centers ought to be up to date.
Yeah, they should have the, they're supposed to have the most current channel lamps, but
They
I'll bring
did.
that back.
Okay.
She obviously did not, yeah. It's on 67.
I found it.
That's right.
And the other item was the Comcast letter to the DPUC in response to Robin's letter. And that's it. The other items deal with this AT&T issue, and I'd like Kerry to address that because he certainly has more knowledge about that than I think all of us put together.
Yeah. The AT&T issue is very similar to Verizon as well. Both telcos are offering a service we in the industry called Telco TV, which is a third option in most communities to the resident cable operator and the satellite people, DirecTV or Dish Network. DirecTV and Dish Network, it's just their satellite service of 100 to 200 channels where people subscribe to. There is no community access because it's not tied to any place local. Comcast here, Cablevision in Southern Connecticut, Time Warner in Westchester County, Cablevision on Long Island, they all have franchise agreements with a municipality or a group of towns such as we do here in Southern Connecticut towns with Cablevision. What Verizon and AT&T have been pretty successful in doing over the last year and a half to 2 years is getting the FCC to bypass franchise agreements. So there's no AT&T franchise agreement with Danbury or with Ridgefield or with Bethel or with Greenwich, Hartford or any other place. They're all looking for statewide agreements, which is one big franchise agreement on a state-by-state basis. What the FCC has ruled is that in order to allow these two phone companies, who are the biggest proponents of Telco TV, competitive access, is to grant them a statewide franchise. So in Connecticut, there's a statewide franchise. In New York, there's a statewide franchise. In Jersey, there's a statewide franchise. Texas, Pennsylvania, etc. It doesn't mean that, on October 1st, every community in Connecticut will have access to AT&T service. So every town in New York State will have access to Verizon's. It really gets turned on almost on a town-by-town basis. Ridgefield may get it before Danbury, which may get it before Bethel, when it's there. I mean, there's a AT&T U-verse trailer, I guess, in the Lowe's parking lot, here in Danbury.
But they use
Right at
the-
Best Buy, at the Lowe's Best
They
Buy.
use the AT&T phone lines?
Yes, yeah.
Carry their.
To carry the signal to the homes.
And those boxes that people have been complaining about, is that what the equipment that connects to the phone lines?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
right. It's a little different than like the DSL service that some of us may have with AT&T. That's just filtering from the wire to give you turn your phone line into a digital line. But, you still need a converter box as you do with Comcast digital packaging or DirecTV or Dish Network packaging. The FCC views granting these statewide licenses as a way to make the phone companies competitive quickly versus making them talk to one town or one group of towns, one after another. I'm sure if they were forced to do that, they wouldn't come to Danbury, Bethel, and Ridgefield together, then expand it to Easton, Reading, and a couple of others, making a much bigger footprint, similar to the type of footprint, again, that Cablevision has in Southern Connecticut. There's quite a few more towns at Cablevision footprint. The issue, so putting that aside, because the FCC's granted that in half a dozen or more states, to the phone companies really is a community access. Are they going to be held to the same standards as Comcast here is in, Tri-Town area, same standards that Cablevision is held to in those areas, et cetera? There's consensus, especially for people in local communities. Well, yeah, they should. Are they? Well, if I sign up for the AT&T U-verse service right now, I don't have local DVR community access, or the school channels, et cetera. Should they be able to carry the same programming on the 3 access channels that we're currently producing in the Comcast studios? Some people say yes. I mean, it'd be a huge expense for AT&T to do that, or for Verizon to do that. But we could, or Comcast could be losing a fairly sizable portion of customers once the Uber service is up and running in all 3 towns. And I'm sure it's in Danbury, you know, if they got their store there.
It is.
We don't have it, to the best of my knowledge, yet in Ridgefield or Bethel, but I'm sure it's not very far off, you know, that we're gonna have that option.
Do we know about pricing?
Their pricing right now is competitive to that of cable or to that of satellite TV. They are all offering combined local phone, local long-distance phone, internet connectivity, and their video service.
Bundling all that.
It's all bundled for a price which, at least for the first 12 months I've seen, is priced better than cable operator. To get,
Yeah, we just introduced a 24-month 3-product bundle in response.
right, to get people to triple plays. I was forcing Comcast's, the AT&T, the Time Warners of the world, et cetera, to revisit their pricing. Otherwise, there are people who are gonna jump from this guy to this guy if the TV programming is the same. If I'm still getting ABC and FX and ESPN and HBO, and their price is much more attractive, you know, I'm gonna go there. And also, I've already got my phone bill, I've already got my phone service, so I haven't, you know, gone on to the cable side. But I think the big issue really is the community access. And let's say Comcast loses 10 to 15% of their video customer base, which is possible, especially with that nice 12-month, or if they have to respond to you for 24 months, introductory pricing, you're gonna lose that, which means Lynn, T, all the other access producers or people that are interested in the school or the government channel, they won't have those anymore. What that would also require, though, is that, at least here, Comcast and AT&T would have to work together to get the programming, your program, Lynn, on both systems. You know, if you will, and again, that's gonna be interesting negotiations.
Are they required to do that?
No,
AT&T?
no, right now, there are no community access, right now, there's no community access requirements, but in one of these, responses back to AT&T,
Right, well.
they say they haven't remitted monies to access providers, but will do so once the department, which I'm assuming is the DPU,
Well,
establishes
that's what I
appropriate
was
funding.
wondering, if they weren't gonna actually carry the programs, were they at least going to finance community access where it is?
They claim they're going to, but they haven't been told what they have to do yet.
But I think there is also the federal ruling that says that AT&T will be regarded as cable.
Right. What it has here in one of the points, certified competitive video service provider, which in this case for us is AT&T, shall provide capacity equal to the number of community access channels currently offered by the incumbent community antenna company, which is Comcast here. So they will, but, you know, none of this has been put in stone yet. They'll provide funds for community access.
Shouldn't it be based on per subscriber that they get? That they should, I mean,
Well,
the
right here
government
it's-
then is subsidizing one company over another. I mean, Comcast getting screwed.
Right. Again,
Seems to me.
what they're saying now, the way I would interpret that point is we have 3 access channels. With Comcast, AT&T's gonna have to provide 3 access channels to our tri-town area as well. And obviously, in that case, they earmark one for school, one for access, and one for government. That being the case, then it's incumbent upon the local advisory boards, ourselves for this town, and whatever they have, you know, in the Reading area, to meet with AT&T representatives and find out how some of the current programming we have with Comcast could be pushed out over their wires, their network, so that your program is still seen by the 5,000 people, let's say, that watch your program over the course of a month. Because you don't want to go from 5,000 viewers to 2,800 viewers. You want everybody, you know, including T, he wants his program to be seen by the same number of people, you know, if not more than who are watching it today. And I think that once some of these rules get in place a little more firm, that we should have those conversations with people from AT&T. I'm not sure if it's the time where DPUC is accepting inquiries from local advisory boards to request those types of get-togethers.
But see, the DPUC is saying that AT&T is not subject.
Not yet.
No, although apparently Verizon is going to be, I think, considered as a cable company, and they're gonna be following the same rules as all the other cable companies. But AT&T apparently decided they didn't want to, and the DPUC agreed with them. And that is why there was the lawsuit that went to the federal court. The federal
Correct.
court said that they should come under and have to follow the same rules as cable operators.
Right, and frankly, they should in the various local communities. Verizon service was out first, the first of the two phone companies to get their video service, public. And I think that's why they just happen to have that head start, on these kinds of rules and regulations. But here in our area, or frankly anywhere else in the state of Connecticut, AT&T is offering this competitive service, which is gonna drive rates down to some degree or force Comcast to do a triple or a quad play. In bundling services, they should be subject to the same number of channel offerings, studio time, etc., as Comcast is. Who knows, maybe if that happens, maybe at that point in Comcast and AT&T conversations, instead of having just our one studio, maybe the two companies put together a joint studio and get newer equipment. So we still have our 3/4 inch, we can get some DVD from the new guys.
Depends on where AT&T is statewide, if they
Right.
move it too far away.
Correct. Well, it depends. They may use Comcast building and just help refit with newer equipment.
That's fine.
For our tri-town. And then it would be up to, in my opinion, the individual producers. If you want to request time at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays on the AT&T servers, as well as, let's say, Tuesday at 8 is your time here with Comcast. If you don't want to be on the other one, then obviously that's your
As long as
choice.
we don't have to take two shows.
Right, but I think it should be a first come, first served. They should deal with our current slate of producers and offer them time slots either commensurate with what they have, or, not too far off from, where you're broadcasting and the others are now. But to me, that would make the most sense, is have one co-funded studio. I mean, there's plenty of companies that do things together.
Well, they're gonna have to collaborate. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no point in duplicating. I mean, if you carry it on one, you can carry it on.
Correct.
Now, is Verizon planning on coming into this area as well?
No, the phone companies are staying with their own telephone footprint, with
Okay.
their footprint. So Verizon's got New York, it's got Pennsylvania, it's got Jersey. AT&T or former SNET, SBC, they're gonna be in their states.
Yes, and
They change every year.
it changes every year.
I know.
Now they're back to 18.
I know, now that
Yeah.
you was.
Yeah, they're bigger than they were before this breakup. But that's pretty much what's been going on, because I get,
What do you-
not to the DPC level, but I'm seeing and reading stuff every day of the week.
What do you propose we do about it?
What I propose we do is, sooner or later, we're gonna have to get a letter to whoever's appropriate at AT&T and request a meeting with them, discuss what Comcast is currently offering, and basically asking them to match. I would recommend that they match the 3 channels that we're getting now, provide access to our current access producers, especially on the community access channel, provide access for the schools as they're doing, and give people, the local 3 towns government, their voice as well. It doesn't make sense, and Lynn's got to record a program here in this format, record a program somewhere else in another format. It's not, I'm speaking not knowing behind all the technology, but when you're feeding it through the same pipe, you could have 2 feeds going into it, an A/B switch, so to speak. So one's coming from something pure digital, and one's coming from analog, as we're doing now. And I think it would be good for the communities if the 2 companies did get together in the access studios and use the current old equipment that we have right now and help migrate towards newer equipment, which obviously would
They'd have to.
be beneficial for Comcast, because they wouldn't have to shell out, let's say we decided to go all digital.
They could share it.
We'll provide that, they could share. You guys don't have to lay it all out, maybe have to upgrade part of it, but you've also gone through the expense of laying the pipe to this building, to the schools, providing current equipment, distribution equipment that we have, so you've already made the heavy investment. So I think that would benefit the whole community. The question is, how receptive will the AT&T people be to that? And then with a combined studio, how receptive is Comcast management? That's gonna go well beyond Comcast DVR, it's gonna have, now go down to Philadelphia as well, for sure.
Yeah. Now, do you think anything is gonna happen until this federal suit is resolved?
when the federal suit is resolved, they're all gonna be forced, you know, to
So, but what I'm
play the game.
saying,
But
in the interim.
in the interim prior to that, it's really gonna be what AT&T, I think, feels is their public responsibility. Right now, the service is only offered in Danbury, and I don't know if U-verse is throughout Danbury or certain parts of Danbury.
I haven't seen
You
any.
guys might have a better knowledge of what their
It isn't
U-verse.
Danbury. I'm not exactly sure what streets or what parts, but I know that the city of Danbury is involved at the DPUC in a docket with, I think, the town of Stamford and Bridgeport maybe, against AT&T because trying to get them to stop installing those boxes.
Those boxes.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's open.
Yeah,
at
because I mean, they
DPUC
hit the
too.
bigger markets first.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, which is easy.
David, Bridgeport, yeah.
You know, I'm not sure if it's worth or getting into it until Ridgefield and Bethel have access to the U-verse service, because then you have 3 towns. One advisory board represents 3 towns, and obviously the local governments are the 3 towns, which could put heat on AT&T.
What kind of timeframe are you looking at here?
You know, there's really no time frame. What they tend to do, AT&T and Verizon, is when they're gonna roll out the state, they're gonna look to communities where either they're wealthier communities,
Like
or,
Ridgefield?
yeah, or their communities such as Danbury or Stamford or Norwalk
Density.
or New Haven, where there's a high pop density.
Yeah.
Because just like when Comcast brought their service, they didn't come to the back roads of Bethel and Ridgefield.
No.
They hit downtown Danbury, you know, center of Ridgefield, and branched outward, you know, that way. So, you know, it's just business sense to start from the center of the heart and move outward, you know, with the rest of the pipe. So, we could get them next month, we could get them in a year and a half.
Wouldn't they
Really
have
depends
to
what they're
approach
rolling
us
at.
though? I mean, wouldn't they, if they're required to do something, they would have to approach us, I would think, in order to, we have the existing infrastructure here, and, you know, I would think.
I'm sure they know where all the advisory board heads are located.
Yeah.
And again, for community relations, you would think it would be incumbent on a company to come to us, come to the Southern Connecticut board. It means PR.
Yeah.
You know, in AT&T, they're not a dopey company. You know, I am sure that when the time comes, they'll come to us. I mean, they're trying, you know, they want to sign up as many people to the services, you know, as any other company. And obviously Comcast wants to retain as many of us, you know, on their system as well. It's a competitive thing. I'm not sure if I fully agree with the full statewide franchise, and then whenever they're ready, they turn the switch on this town or on that town. But the precedent's been set in half a dozen states or more with, it's just a statewide franchise to enhance that.
It'll help the consumer, because whenever you have competition.
Correct.
It keeps the prices.
I mean, you've got your new bundle now, 24-month bundle, so.
You know, it's just a question of oversaturation of the market too. I mean, is there enough to sustain? Well, if you only have 2, you still have competition.
Right. The one advantage in starting the service up from a phone company, they've already got the copper up and down the street. When Comcast or when Time Warner came into a new community, they had the trucks out there, they had to roll, get the coax, you know, up one street, down the other, to the boxes, et cetera. So that was an evolutionary process for the cable operators as well. For the phone company, they're using the existing wire, and they're just running potentially different wiring or digitizing the lines into the home. You know, the original thought 10 years ago was it would have to be full fiber optic, just carry the video signal. And the technology advanced so well that over that still little thin piece of stranded copper, they can deliver volume of channels commensurate with you know, the fat pipe from the cable guy. You know, technology's technology.
Well, I think that's more of a problem for Comcast than it is for us.
Yeah, but when AT&T gets in here fully, I would like them to be forced to offer the same 3 channels.
Well, I think they should have to. I mean,
Comcast may not want that, because they'd rather have the public access airwaves as a point of differentiation for them, you know, that's from a marketing and business perspective. But if we want to have to look out for people in all 3 of our towns, I want AT&T to be forced to offer the same. Also, if they're not forced to offer the same, Comcast is spending roughly $6 and change per subscriber for community access, and these guys don't.
Well, they should have to.
Right.
Well, that's the whole issue with this. What kind of funding should they be
It should be
providing?
commensurate with the incumbent, which is what one of the.
Well, is it really gonna generate that much more money, because they're basically gonna be taking from Comcast? I mean, I don't think the revenue for even if they're required to pay with Comcast, this is gonna greatly skyrocket. It's just gonna be a question of apportioning it between the.
Right, let's say Comcast.
If you move to AT&T and you're not forced to pay it, then
Your rate's gonna
Comcast.
be
Well, if you're not forced,
goes
if
down.
they're not
Then your rate
required
would
to
be
pay it,
$7,
yeah,
$8
then
lower
you've
right
got,
away.
there's a problem.
There's a $7, $8 differentiation in rates they can charge customers.
Yeah, I
You know,
yeah.
but if they're forced, even, let's say you guys lose 10 to 15%, you're still gonna have 85 to 90% of the market. So the raw dollars that you have to pay for access and the raw dollars they have to pay for access will be disproportionate in the same proportion.
They gotta be required to pay.
But they should have to pay at a bare minimum the same per sub rate as you guys are. Because otherwise they'll kill you at $8, $9, you know, per subscriber, and that will hurt.
That doesn't even touch the initial
Correct.
investment of the return lines that we pay for.
Right, well, that's for
And
sure.
they didn't have to pay any money.
Comcast thought they had a monopoly when they put it in.
Yeah, the only thing they did, you know, was with satellite TV. The satellite's not going, can't.
That's
can't
why they
access.
invested, so they invested so heavily in it, because they said, well, we got a monopoly now.
Right.
Now they realize that,
Yeah.
well, technology is.
Same thing with the cell providers. Cellular providers also used to do too, how as many as you can get.
All right, I think we-
Okay, well, thank you for the education, because I know you have the
I
knowledge,
see it all the time.
the knowledge, the expertise, and you can explain it better than any of us.
Okay.
And they're gonna be knocking on our doors pretty soon. I mean, 'cause they're gonna say, look what we got, you know, right?
You'll be
So you gotta,
That's the marketing muscle
Yeah.
of the
All
company.
right, I guess the last thing on the agenda is the election of officers.
Oh, I don't want to be one.
I will stay where I am as vice
That's another
chair. I
spot
travel
people
to
who
let
live
you
in
take
the
over
room.
your slot.
I'll stay as treasurer.
All right, I'll do it for,
Yay,
I'll do it, I'll do it for one more year.
Congratulations.
Well, we could have elected
All of
him,
it.
she's not here.
Yeah, right.
You elected me as vice chairman, I wasn't here that time.
You're right, we
The
did.
We're gonna phone call next morning, oh, no, you're vice chair.
Okay, you know what, Robin, why don't you, I mean, I don't wanna tell you what to do.
Make the
but
nomination
Make a nomination.
for all three of you?
Yeah.
I would like to nominate Diane Eppinger for chairman, Kelly Nadel for vice chairman, and Ian Freestone for treasurer.
A second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Anybody else doing the books?
I know.
You're a family reporter, he doesn't want me
Can
to.
you turn it off
Yeah, you
now
want my
that we've
name?
closed?
It's fine.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
So what's this gonna be in?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are
You guys
adjourned.
have the free paper? or-
Yeah.
Heidi.